Hello everyone, welcome to the second video of the Dockerfile series. So in this video, we will apply what we learned about the theoretical concept of Dockerfile in our last session, and we'll deploy one application. So we will write a Dockerfile and we'll deploy that application in our EC2 container and we'll access that via our browser. So without any further ado, let us get started. All right, so this is one of the application that I have where I have it as app1 Docker. So we will write a Docker file for this application. So imagine this is one of the application that your developers submit, and then they want this application to be deployed in a Docker container. So how would you go about doing this? So the first thing is, as we have done in all of our video, I have my Ubuntu instance already running. So this is my instance and I'm logged into my instance. So this is my Ubuntu instance. So the first task I'm gonna do here is let me first clone this repo. So I'll go here, I will do git clone, and I'll paste the link. So my repo is ready. So now let me go to um, my application. So let me start writing a Docker file, and I already have the Docker file written, but I'll just go over the steps with you that and those are some of the keywords that we have discussed in our part one video. So it should make sense to you very easily. So I prefer the nano editor. So let me go ahead start with the nano editor. So Docker file. So the first thing is we create a file called Docker file. So this is typically the name of the Docker file. So I'm logged. So I'm inside this Docker file, and so the first keyword that um, we will use is from. So we discussed in our last video. So this is the base alpine image that we will be using to um, deploy our application. So we'll make some custom changes to this base image. So this is the first line. And the second one, this is the command we'll be using. So we discussed this again in our last video. Run is simply similar to the Linux command. So what we are doing here is we are making this directory, making P is a shorthand for parents. So this will create a folder if there is no such folder created. So home node is already there in this node alpine image. So we are creating this app folder and then the node module. And instead of running, so all of the Docker container will be running as a root user. So we don't want to run them as a root user. So we use this node user. So we are changing the owner and group node, and then we are giving it the permission to this app folder where we will have our application code. So this is the step that will uh, use this one. And this is another where we are using this WORKDIR, and we discussed this in our last video as well. So we are setting this as home node app as our working directory. And if we do not set this, Docker will by default give you some folder like some path, but this is the best practice. Like we want to make sure we give this path ourselves. So in this case, it's the home node app. And after that, we are doing the copy command. So from this application, we are copying all our package. So we are doing this before the install command because as we know, Docker, basically the way Docker builds is there is different layers it builds on top of the base layer. So we want to make sure that this copying is done before we do any installation, because if we have to rerun the container, then all of these processes already cached, so we do not have to redo this step again. So we do the copy command first before we do the installation, and then we set the user as the node. And this again is a security feature which we discussed, is we don't want to run as a root user but rather as a node user for our safety feature of our Docker. And then after that, we run this run command where we install all of the uh, required uh, files. And then in this step, what we are doing here is we are copying all of the installation to the app folder. And also we are making sure that the node user has the permission to run all of those commands. And after that, we will be running the expose command. And expose is, this is the port that will be exposed when the container is up and running. And we can also um, forward this to a different port when we are running the container, which we will do in this particular video as well. And then the last piece which we also discussed is the CMD. So this is CMD or entry point. These are like quite similar. So all this is doing is, this is the executable that's running the process. So when we deploy the container, the engine that is running is the node engine. So this will help us run that. So these are some of the keywords that we are utilizing to write a Docker file. So it's very pretty simple, right? So we could have done all of this using a simple run command, but that would have been too vague of a command line. So that's the only reason we are translating all of those um, steps into a file, so that when we run this file, it'll be easier. It will run all of these processes at once. So that's the idea of running a Dockerfile. So now let us get out of this file. So Control X, yes. So now I can see my Dockerfile. So we have an application which has a Dockerfile. Now the next step is we will build the image from this application. But one thing I want you to do as well is go into this Docker Hub login and create an account in the Docker Hub. Is you just have to hit the sign up. So uh, so you have to give a username, email, and password, and then you should be able to create your account pretty easily. So please go ahead and do that. It should be pretty straightforward. So in my case, I'm just gonna sign into my account. So my account username is Pilamsa. So I just want you to show you how to push the image to Docker Hub account, because that will help you, because eventually let's say you build an image, and if you push it to your Docker Hub account, and if somebody else want to run their container using your image, you can simply point them, you can simply provide them the image, so that way they don't have to redo the whole process. So that's the reason I'm asking you to create this Docker Hub account. All right, so I'm hoping you already created an account, so we are in the same page. So let us go ahead and build build and Docker image from this Docker file. So first, let me start. Make sure my Docker service is on. Docker status. All right, so my Docker engine is active and running, and uh, if in any case if you see it's not running, all you have to do is you just have to simply do service docker and start command. So that will start your Docker container. And yeah, sometimes because Docker container turns off, like once you turn on your instance or you reboot your instance, you have to start the container. Okay, so just making sure everything is good. So I have my Docker file. So the next step is pretty straightforward. It's simply docker build, and we have to always tag the image. So 90, so that's my account information for my Docker Hub. And let's do node.js application 11. So let me build this image, and let me copy everything to this image. So I run this command, and you see my image is building. All of the, if you see here in the command, all of the command that we wrote in Dockerfile is actually running in order. So these processes are already, however you lay out in your Docker file, this is going to run. So now if you go ahead and see Docker images, you'll see your image. So this part is done. So now the next step is, let us go ahead and push this image to the Docker Hub account. All right. So before you push your image to the Docker Hub, make sure you are logged in. So this is the step where you have to do Docker login command. And you see I'm already logged in, but if not, you just have to provide your username and password. So then you will say, okay, you are logged into a Docker container, so you have access to your Docker Hub account from this instance. All right, so once you have done that part, let us push our image to the Docker Hub repository. So this is simply Docker push, and then you'll use your account name, whatever you have given. So in my case it's pilamsal90. So if you go to your account, you see, so this is where you will see your account information. Docker push pilamsal90, and then the name of your application. So node.js app 11. So you'll just push your image, and all right, so it's pushing your image. And if you go and refresh, you will see your application. Few seconds ago this image is pushed. So this is your custom image now. So you took the Alpine image, you made modification, and then you pushed your custom image to this repository. So this is your custom image. So now once we have done that part, let us go ahead and run the container from this image. So again, docker run the container, and let us name it again the same thing, node node.js. Let's do app 11, and let us do the port forwarding. So you remember on our Docker file, uh, we opened port 8080. So now we are forwarding that 8080 to port 80. So we forwarded the port here, and then we run this in the detached mode. And then which image are we running? We are running our custom image, that is plumsal90. That's my account name hyphen, and which image? Node.js app 11. So this is the image I'm running. So I'm running a container with the name, with this port, detached mode, and from my account, and using the image on my account. Simple as that. So let us do that, and quickly the image is up and running. So now if I do docker ps, I see my container up in status. So let us go and see if I can access this application from my browser. So how do I do that? Again, we'll just go into our instance, we copy this public address, paste, and then we forward this to port 80, which is the port we actually defined. All right, so we see this application. We click here, home, so our application is accessible from the browser. So what did we achieve from this task? So this is a very crucial step, because your companies is going to have a lot of different application, and imagine this as one of your company's application where your customers are accessing the application from the browser. And in the real case, we'll make use of different tools like load balancers, and making sure the port is open to the public where it can be scaled up and down, which we will do in our upcoming videos. But this is the main idea. So we containerized our application, and it is available from the browser to access this application. So this is running in a Docker container. So this is the main idea. And then the next step I really want you to show in the next video is deploy the same process but using Jenkins. So Jenkins is our CI tool, continuous integration tool. So we will make use of that tool to deploy all of this code, and we are going to deploy the same application but using Jenkins. So that will be the next step. And if you have any other things that you would like to see, please do mention in the comment section, and I will reply, and I'll try to make videos that will help you understand that tool. So please do let me know in the comment section. But yes, so this is where we defined our Docker file. We revisited some of the keyword that we discussed in our earlier video, and we deployed our application. So that is it for this video. Thank you for following me up to this point. And please do mention in the comment section if you would like to see uh, something else or something that you are not very clear about. And also, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy my content, because that will really help me invest some more time and come up with some more quality video for you all. And I really appreciate that. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you in my next video.